Jake Jacobs. The burial was held earlier this morning. For those of you who are joining us online, the information as far as the charity, the favorite charity, obviously you can make your favorite charity donation. There'll be a gathering here in the chapel just after the service. Rabbi Michael Sommer will be officiating. I invite everybody to take a moment to be sure that your cell phones have been turned off. And if I could ask the four of you up front to please rise as the rabbi approaches to perform the ceremony of Kriya.
The act of Kriya is the oldest biblical signs. When a loved one died, they would rent their clothing and wear ash on their head. Comes forward as a black ribbon and mourner wears in the lapel to let friends and family know that they're in the spirit mourning the approach of love and sympathy. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam dayan haemet, blessed be the Lord our God, judge.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Praise be for a loved one who's a blessing in the lives of all who knew him. A poet wrote, "What is the measure of a man? His measure, the kind words people say when he isn't there, and the memories he creates that stay indelible in the minds of all who knew him. What is the measure of a man? It is the amount of love he leaves in people's hearts and the laughter he leaves upon people's lips. It is the length of time he's remembered, his good deeds and his kind words, measured in the length of years. Stories of his best moments get told by family and loved ones alike." Mary Oliver wrote, "When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, the cottage of darkness? And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood, and I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. In each name, a comfortable music, and the mouth tending as all music does towards silence. In each body, a line of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world." Alan Jacobs felt all of humanity. He understood people. He didn't understand the violence and awfulness, but he made it his life's work to try and understand. He felt other people's pain and did his best in his work to find ways to relieve the pain of others. Family was everything to Alan, often called Jake by many friends who knew him at different times in his life through his many different pursuits. He loved you all, and he loved being surrounded by you whenever possible. Alan lived an incredible 87 years despite the hardship of these last years stolen by his failing health. All of you are his legacy. Today we celebrate Alan's life and spirit while mourning his death and his absence. Son of Harry and Rose of blessed memory, loving husband of Krishya for over 42 years, father of Jesse and his wife Olga, and adoring grandpa of Max. We are blessed with the lives we share. May Alan's memory always be a blessing as we celebrate the memory of his life. A poet wrote, "Fight my fight. Dry your tears and pick up the mantle I've left you. Fight my fight for those in need and for those who never had a me to share their lives. Fight my fight by caring for the stranger, the sick, the silent, the victim, the child, the one who has no one else to come to their side and defend them from the world. Fight my fight because it is the right thing to do. Take my love for you and share it with the rest of the world in hopes of filling it up with a love so big that you find every person in the world standing by your side as a defender of all that is good. May you all fill the world with the light I've always tried to share with every person I've known or loved. My hand may not be in yours, but know that my spirit lives in your heart, and my light can never be extinguished as long as memories of me give you the strength you need to fight my fight. The Byrds made popular these ancient words of Ecclesiastes when they sang that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak. And now is the time we speak about Alan's incredible life, as I call up his cousin Todd to say some words.
Hello, I'm Todd Jacobs, and my father was Alan's cousin, which makes me his cousin once removed. Second cousin, I don't know what it is, but he felt like a cousin to me. If you asked me to describe Alan in one word, it would be, really? We can't even describe Alan in one memorial service. Even Alan couldn't describe Alan. But wow, was he interesting. My memories of him are as old as I am, the earliest being when I was just a kid and he was in college, and yet I recall him never talking down to me. Maybe that was the kid in him which never left him. Even the last time we were together a few weeks ago, his childlike wonder continued to explode out from him and envelop the room, and man, oh man, he sure was good at enveloping the room. And man, oh man, he was good at enveloping the room. That last time I hung out with him a few weeks ago, Alan still was that proud, ego-beaming kid as he maneuvered his remote-controlled helicopter around the room, teasing us with close encounters. As Yoda would say, "The ego is strong with this one," which reminds me of another fabulous trait of his, voices. Alan loved to affect voices, loved to tell a joke with voices. He was great at telling jokes. He was also great at telling stories. He was obsessed and extremely entertaining with stories about himself and his father during his very unusual youth, like the time Carol Lombard was his babysitter in Hollywood, or why Harry, his father, was nicknamed Bam because he bet $1 million on the Yankees, which I think is why he always loved the Yankees. I mean, who outside of the Bronx loves the Yankees? He loved baseball. And Max, he loved to tell me stories about your love of baseball. Jesse, he loved to tell the wonderful story of when you were arrested for graffiti, and immediately after picking you up from the police station, he said to you, "Let's go photograph your art." This is a great memory for me. In my 20s, I accompanied Alan and other friends and associates of him to the federal maximum security prison downstate in Marion, Illinois, where he incorporated us within group therapy sessions with inmates. Unconventional. I was now old enough to begin to understand the complexity of family dynamics as an adult. In Alan's case, a dynamic of not holding to convention, of not making waves, which plagued him and got him in trouble in his relationships with family members. I later understood that his unconventionality, his fearlessness and emotional confrontation to be one of his superpowers in his professional life and in his creative abilities. He was such a great photographer and had such a unique and varied appreciation for art. The book recommendations, the movie and TV show recommendations. For me, before there was Wikipedia, there was Wiki Allen. I have to end this eulogy in recognizing Krisha, recognizing your role in helping him realize his dreams and accomplishments. He loved to tell stories about your accomplishments, loved to tell me how much he loved you and was thankful to the fates in meeting you. Muhammad Ali liked to say, "I shook up the world." Alan, you shook mine.
Thank you for sharing all your memories with me the other day. Alan was born in Chicago, but grew up following his dad's pursuits all of his youth. As a professional gambler, Harry always went where the action was, whether crossing the country to follow the horse racing seasons or owning his own casino in Reno. And Alan experienced 8 to 13 schools in his many years, from Saratoga to Florida to New York to Los Angeles. And after Harry died on Christmas minding the family store when Alan was 16, Alan and Rose moved to live in Chicago for the rest of their lives. The December holidays were always hardest for Alan due to this moment in his life. Alan attended and graduated from Senn High School. He attended the University of Chicago, where he was a highly accomplished member of their track team. 2 of his university records still stand to this day. At one point, Alan tied the world record for the 70-yard dash, and in 1957, he ran in the Maccabiah Games and won a silver medal. Jake, to most of his athlete and firefighter friends, would often tell the story every 4 summers about how he missed making it to the Olympics by this much. In 2016, he was inducted into the University of Chicago Athletic Hall of Fame. Alan accomplished so much in his 2 years of college, but the structure wasn't really for him, so he left and began his pursuit of self-improvement and self-education. Jesse, you talked about the walls of books your dad always had, and how he would tear through them and build another wall of books he needed to read next to gain the knowledge he sought. He was self-taught while working any job that would put food on the table, from working at a slaughterhouse to being a salesperson, until he finally earned his certification as a social worker and eventually became a psychotherapist practicing transactional analysis. In 1996, he of course received the Berne Memorial Award in transactional analysis from the International Transactional Analysis Association. He spent much of his life studying genocides and their impact on global populations, leading to his work in theory on autocracies and their abuse of power. His impressions of the Holocaust as a young boy influenced him his entire life. Krisha, you spoke about how when Alan was studying the concentration camps throughout Europe, you were his interpreter at Auschwitz. You two fell in love almost immediately. He swept you off your feet. You found a 4-leaf clover at Auschwitz that Alan kept in his wallet for the rest of his life. And Jesse, he told you she was able to find beauty and hope in one of the darkest places on earth. And you two were married a year later when Jesse was 9 and spent the next 42 years never running out of something to talk about and loving each other beyond words. Alan was one of the most compassionate people you could ever meet. He felt other people's suffering, and it pained him and made him sad and could bring him to tears. His compassion made Alan who he was and allowed him to make such a difference in his teaching, in his work, in his family life, and in his friendships. When Alan loved, he loved with his whole being, not just his heart. When Alan expressed gratitude for who you were or what you did, he did it with everything he had. Jesse, you described your dad's devotion to you. When your parents divorced, when you were little, the judge couldn't believe how determined they were to give you the best life possible as you went back and forth between both homes every 2 days. Neither your mom nor dad ever wanted to spend a day without you. Your dad loved doing everything with you and was always so proud of you. He was more of a baseball fan, but when you loved soccer, he loved soccer. Your dad would come to every game and cheer the loudest and make sure you had the best equipment to do your best on the pitch. He loved when you brought Olga into the family and made him a grandpa when you brought Max into the world. Max, you described your grandpa as so very caring, and he just loved you so very much. You two loved talking about baseball, and he loved seeing all the game video your dad would send him. He loved how good a player you are. Olga, you described Alan as the best father-in-law and so funny and charming. Alan just had his own opinions and way of thinking about things. He always brought a new perspective to something. You described him as one of the funniest men you know. He was just the best joke teller. He could tell the same joke over and over, and it would still remain funny with each telling. After he retired, Alan took up photography in the aftermath of 9/11. He wanted to support and know his local firemen. He brought pizza and talked with the men who knew him as Jake. He documented their lives in the station during downtime and meal prep and on their calls. At a point as the relationship progressed, they got a call and asked Jake if he wanted to ride with them. Jake described it as an experience of biblical proportions. It was a call for a burning bush. Literally, a burning bush. His relationship and photos eventually became his published photo journal. Thank God for these guys. His photos of the concentration camps were used on the earliest internet in 1995 on remember.org, with over 4 million views on some of the educational pages that used his photos. Alan was always so artistic in how he saw through his lens. He always wondered how people survived, how they had the strength to get through the worst experiences. Alan loved you all beyond words. He wore his heart on his sleeve, but truly cared for those closest to him, as well as for the stranger walking the street beside him. In his work, study, teaching, and photography, he took in the world and tried to give us all a better understanding of each other. In living, we all try to make the world a better place. Alan often succeeded. We try to make a difference wherever we go. Alan Jake Jacobs made a difference in the lives of those who knew him and those who met him. May we always remember the best of him in his strength and health, and may his memory always be a blessing, as he was such a blessing in your lives. The poet Merritt Malloy wrote, "When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old people who wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother and sister walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms on anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not on your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away." We continue reading together in the pamphlets the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We rise for our ancient memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Amse Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kedoshim Torim, Kezahar Akia Masirim, Ed Nishmat Alan Yaakov Ben Heri Varoz, Shalach Lolamo, Val Rachamim Yasterehu, Beseter Kanafav Lolamim, Vitor HaChaim Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachlato, Ve'adnuach Beshalom, Al Mishkavo V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Alan Jake Jacobs, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. You may be seated.
Ladies and gentlemen, the services here at the chapel are concluded. We thank those of you that joined us via live stream. And for those of you who just want to spend some time here in the chapel to visit with the family, it would be a nice thing to do. Thank you.